What's up, people? You are live with the Political Millennials.
Hi, guys. My name is Lewis.
And I'm Justin. And if you've been here before, you know who we are. If not, then that's who we are.
Hi, we're going to be talking about religion today. It's going to be a pretty good dive into some of the history of a religion, difference of opinions between religions, and how religion affects politics today, in today's time.
We kind of didn't tell you what we were going to do this week, so surprise. Of course, you see the title before you click on it. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. It's important to me, and it's important, I think, to Lewis. I'm going to speak for him, but we hopefully we'll get some questions and get your mind thinking a little bit. That's all we want to do. We're not going to tell you how to think. We're not going to tell you what to think. We just want you to think about it and make your own decision.
We also have some Trump news and just some Russia news at the end, probably about the last 10 minutes of the video.
And we also have our first edition of answering fan mail.
Awesome. We have fan questions. It's kind of cool. We've answered those at the very end of the video as well. So keep on watching till the end. I hope you enjoy this episode, and thanks for watching the Political Millennials.
Alrighty, so this week we've got a doozy. One of the most important topics to me. Religion. It's something that everybody has to make a decision on in their life. Usually within the first 18 years. Usually by the time you've reached an age where you're out on your own or old enough to make decisions, you've gotten pretty much what you feel about religion and your opinions on it. Something we all have to make that decision.
We've all had to fight to either accept it into our lives or to work with it, or some people even work against it. Of course, you're always going to have the extreme sides of it. It is a very important topic, definitely more than just what you believe in, because it does dictate and does influence a lot of our most powerful leaders in the world.
The entire party.
In the entire party. Every single politician you see, every single president is a believer in God so far. I mean, I could say that 100% accuracy, that every single president we have has been a religious president.
Yeah, as far as I know.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a mind-blowing stat, but just every single one of them are, because it's the normal. It's
a difference between, do you believe in God and do you impose your belief in God as you run your presidency? Because the founding fathers were religious, but they wrote it particularly secularist, which means secularism is a government without religion involved in decision-making. That's secularism.
How it was planned to be. It's supposed to be like that.
They were religious, but they planned it and specifically made it to where you are not religious bound in the government. So we've had presidents, as like Lewis said, as far as the entire country's history that were believers, and some of them imposed a little bit more than others. Of course, I don't have any examples, but that's just off my head. I would assume. So we'll start. Since we started on the politics side, what do you think the reason, or what purpose does religion have in politics? What do you think its role in politics should be or is?
Religion affects people's morality, and with their morality, whether you like it or not, affects their decision making. The first thing that comes to mind would be abortion. People who are Christian would 100% be pro-life. They never want to see any child dead. I know, coming from a Catholic background, faith, Catholics believe that birth starts at conception. So, birth very early in life is such a big thing to them. Just for starters, that's off the top.
Yeah, I would agree. Although I will state as an atheist, I agree that morality has something to do with it, but I don't believe that being religious gives you better morality. I just feel like if you're religious, you base a lot of your decisions based off of your religious morality.
Yes, yeah.
So my God thinks that this is wrong, therefore I make this decision because God is watching me. Something like that. Although I will say, there are plenty of atheists out there that have better morality than most religious people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not a exclusive thing to religion, but it is something. Every decision they make, they feel like they have to check it with God first.
Yeah.
So it's almost like there's not an entire decision being made by them. They're checking it first with something that can't respond to them.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means is, up to you to decide. But so what do you think about religion needs to be excluded from politics? You should not include this, no matter what, politically, about religion.
Number one, I think. Number one, I want to say off of that is I would think that religion would help people in politics, help them with a little bit more empathy, but we usually don't see that.
No.
But what I would like it to change would be the abortion policies. A lot of people base it off of that. I would actually. I'm not too sure. What else would it affect? It would affect abortion. It would affect
gay rights.
Yeah, but
transvestite or not transvestite.
That doesn't come to my head since it's already legalized. I know they're gonna have a hard time forever, but that wasn't. I'm trying to think of what.
Well, they'll outgrow it eventually.
Yes, yeah.
But LGBT has a big part of it because there's a lot more to it than just gay, and most religions ban homosexuality.
I almost want to say women's rights. Because a lot of what the Bible teaches is that a woman is there for servant and for pleasure and for the man. I mean, it says from the beginning that she was created for the man.
Created from a man.
From a man.
The rib of a man
yeah.
created a woman. So everything, like he said in the Bible, would be based off of the woman is the housekeeper, the caretaker of the family, the cooker, the laundry, all that stuff, that the tedious chores you do in the house, that's the woman's job, and the guy goes out and makes the money.
Yeah.
And nowadays that's not really something that's
very simple,
super popular. So I think that's something that you have to look at. And the one thing that baffles me, kind of switching the subject here, is why people believe in this stuff. I'm gonna come off as really biased because I am.
Mm-hmm.
Do not believe in any religion. I don't believe in any kind of God. I don't believe in any kind of anything outside of this world that has control over anything in this world. I'm completely 100% atheist. There's no more to it than that. So I don't believe in anything in the Bible. I don't believe in any word told in any religion as truth. So I have to ask, why do people believe in this when I'll say there is pretty basic proof to dispute it?
Mm-hmm.
Like I told you one day, evolution, which there's some religious people that do believe in evolution, because at this point you just can't deny it.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw it as, and I'll rephrase just a little bit, I'm wearing a purple shirt right now. If I told Lewis I'm wearing a purple shirt and he disputed that, that's like disputing evolution. It is so concrete and proven in science that it's just pretty much fact at this point.
Yeah.
So I wonder why people believe in this over evidence.
I want to say that people believe in it for one of their keywords, faith. They want to believe in something. Some people have to have outside motivation. I think that's what it is. To do better, to see their family do better, to look forward to a perfect utopia once their life here is finished. I think it's a mindset thing to make you feel better. It's a coping mechanism.
Yeah, I think people are scared. What happens when I die?
Yeah.
That's a scary question. My answer is nothing. You just
dead.
don't exist.
You're dead. You don't have anything to worry about.
You don't even know you're dead. You're just so non-existent. It's the same answer as what were you before you were born?
Exactly.
You just weren't here.
People
you can't recall it. You never.
You were alive for 9 months in the stomach of your mother, and you don't remember it.
But even before that, just before you were conceived,
yeah,
like you were a sperm in your dad,
Yeah.
But before the sperm was made, you just weren't. You just didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
You just did not exist. That's the same thing. You die, you don't exist anymore. You don't have any recollection of what's going on. You don't have any kind of consciousness. You're just dead.
Yeah.
That's it, and that's scary to some people. And I can relate to that because it is kind of a scary thought to say I'm just not going to exist anymore. Like, it's kind of unsettling to know that once I'm dead, like, I won't have any recollection of the life I've lived.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just how it is. I mean, we can't prove it, but that's just how it is in my mind. And people are scared of that, so they look for, I'm going to live happily ever after in some cloud city that has all of my loved ones that have ever died and all of my loved ones that will ever die in the future and all these good people, and it's just we're all happy, and it's like, I'm sorry, that's, to me, that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't make sense to me. I used to, I don't want to say I used to believe in it because I was brought up in it and I always questioned it. So, I mean, I was a part of it, but it was never, I would say never by choice because it was always what's expected out of you.
I mean, I was brought up in it too.
Mm-hmm.
Not to the extent I didn't ever go to church. I didn't ever have people in my life that pushed religion on me. And I'm thankful for that because I've made my own decision.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have a lot of family members that are religious. So it is somewhat of my background. And there was one point a lot in high school I believed in God. I didn't believe in the stories. And then at just some point I was like, why am I believing in this? I don't believe in anything else about it. And a lot of it with people that reject religion and say that religion isn't something they believe in, they have a hard time getting over that bump is, if I reject God now, what happens when I die and go to hell?
Yeah.
But if you reject God, you don't believe in it, you don't believe you're going to go to hell.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, I want to believe it. And then I hear this argument from religious people, what if it is true?
Yeah.
And then you're standing at the pearly gates and God's there and you're like, oh crap, now I'm going to hell. Well, then you know what? I'm sorry. You didn't give me a reason to believe and I just don't.
But the thing is, like, you know, everybody wants to talk about you have to do these things. There's 10 rules to get into heaven. You have to live like this and do this. I'm not a religious person, but I promise you I'm one of the nicest people you will ever meet. I'm not a bad person. I'm not angry. I'm not mean. You know, or at least I try not to be. I try to be sincere with everybody and live the best life I can. And if that's what gets me rejected, then I don't know if I want to be there.
I've known a lot of people in my life, and within the last under 2 years that I've known Lewis, he is one of the nicest people I know. And I know from just knowing him, anytime he does something nice, it's not because of God, it's not because of this or that, it's because he's a good person. So I can confirm that.
Thanks,
you don't need religion to be a good person. I try to be a good person. I struggle sometimes. It's
we all do. Nobody's perfect.
But if there's something I can do to help somebody, I'll do it, and I don't need God for that.
Yeah.
And I don't need payment. I don't need you'll get into heaven if you do it. I don't care. I'll do it because it's a good thing. It's the right thing to do. And with that, we'll segue into the morality side that you brought up during the politics part of that. So there is a morality thing that people have questions about with where do you get your morality from if you're not religious? If you don't have a religion, how do you know what's right and wrong? And a lot of the argument is, well, you know what's right and wrong, but God told you that. You know, you get your right and wrong from God, even if you don't accept Him. So God says killing's bad, and that's where you know killing's bad. You just don't accept that's where you get it from.
Yeah.
And I would argue that that's not true because it's detrimental to humankind. We have evolved, and like I said, this has been proven with science. Evolution happened. We've evolved to be a social creature, just like every other monkey you see. They always have a family, always have people that they're with. They're never alone. And anything that detrimental to that cause of not having people around them and not having a society and a community to belong to, anything that takes away a human life feels bad to us because we are social and loving creatures by nature, by evolution. That's why morality is a thing. Because if I do something to hurt Lewis, like if I break his leg, I'm not going to feel great about that because that puts him at a disadvantage in life. And then that further puts everybody that he's surrounded with at a disadvantage. So then now the humankind is suffering negatively for it.
Yeah.
That's the deep down thing. Why it feels bad.
Having dogs and like learning more about dogs over the past year that I've had mine, you don't need you don't need a religion or a god to let you know right or wrong. Animals, themselves can latch onto things and learn right or wrong, and it comes to them instinctively. When my dog plays with another dog and he accidentally hurts it, it's an immediate stop, and he's like, "Oh crap, like I messed up. Let me stop attacking you and check if he's not saying let me check if you're okay, but he pauses and waits for the guy to get up or however it goes. Morality isn't something that's taught by any super being like that.
Yeah.
It definitely is inside of us. We're meant to be empathetic.
So I see. I'm going to use Steve Harvey as an example because I saw it firsthand. I saw him say it, and he would always say, "If you're not religious, I don't want anything to do with you because I don't know where your moral." And he said barometer is, and that's a horrible word for it. But I don't know where your morality lies. Where's your moral compass coming from, or whatever word you want to use? And that's just, to me, that's an anti-religious thing to say.
Yeah.
Because why are you questioning my morality? Because I don't believe in God. You're supposed to love everybody. And we can get into that in a little bit later. But to me, it's just, I don't understand the morality argument because you do something and you feel bad for it. Therefore, it's immoral. Now, to say that morality is a de facto yes or no. Like, rape is wrong, period. Yes. We agree, okay? We can agree that rape is wrong. But to somebody that doesn't feel bad for doing it, he probably doesn't think it is. He probably thinks, oh, I don't see anything wrong with what I'm doing. I don't feel bad for it.
Yeah.
But
it's
that's
all
him.
Perspective, yeah.
Morality is not set in stone. It is, some people think it's bad, some people think it's good. Hitler did not think what he was doing was bad.
And I'm pretty sure, was Hitler religious?
Yeah,
he was
not
a Catholic. Saying that they're completely correlated, but, he
was a Catholic.
And I don't. That probably doesn't even help out or make any sense because there's so many religious people.
Well, Stalin was atheist and he was a bad guy, so you could go both ways. But regardless,
that point doesn't matter. Not trying to make it a point.
Right. Regardless, morality is an opinion, what you think is right and wrong. Now, society has its morale.
Yes.
And if you go against it, they're going to ridicule you for it. And obviously, you have to make laws because without laws, it's just anarchy and. We're past the anarchy age where everybody wants that. So it's part of a point where you have to have laws because there is a definite right and wrong in terms of what is legal.
Yeah.
But there isn't in terms of morality being objective. There is no objective morality. It's just an opinion. It's just what you think is right and wrong. And if you disagree with that, then, you have that right, but you have to realize that everybody thinks something, like even gays, just the simplest form, just gay. Some people think being gay is just wrong. It's just immoral. It's wrong. But most of the people in the country nowadays don't think so. It evolves. Slavery is another example, and if we can go into that last week, and if you want to watch that, you can. But there's always something in society that some people think are wrong and some people think are good. Well, that's morality.
Yeah, there's not a set thing. Nothing's perfect, and everybody has the right to believe whatever you want to believe. If you want to believe in a religion, that's perfectly fine. I choose not to, and I choose to have a different morality compass. I'll say compass because barometer is pretty bad. A moral compass. Just be a good person. You don't need somebody to tell you to be a good person. It feels good. It makes the other person feel good, and what's stronger than that?
So, what do you think is a good thing religion brings to the world? What do you think is good about it?
It brings unity to people. You always see people at masses, at churches, by the hundreds, but some places by the thousands. Not that I think it's a good thing, but anything that can get people that together is something that makes a lot of people feel good. And if it makes you feel good, go ahead and keep doing it. If it's not hurting you.
Right. Yeah, totally. I would agree. I would say morality, religion as a whole does make us more morally right as a whole. But I do think that there are some religious people that go past that and immoral because of it. But for the most part, I would say the religious people that are right, the religious people that are sane and normal, that don't go super crazy about it, are good people that, if they use God to be moral, then who cares? They're being moral. I don't see a reason to say you're immoral just because you are moral because of something. Yeah. Like, that's not right. I'm moral because it makes me feel bad to be immoral. Yeah. That doesn't make me any less moral because, that's so. If you use God to be moral, great. As long as you're moral, who cares?
Just be true to your morals. Like, the other day it made me think, we found these dogs that were walking in the street. 2 huge, over 40-pound pit bulls. And I'm a big animal person. So we were driving past and they're walking around about to get hit. And we're like, oh my gosh, what should we do? And for a second, part of me is like, well, it's like 20 degrees outside and I don't want to stand out here with these dogs. But I went ahead and I got them, took them to my house. And I had a saying to myself, do I want to be a good person or do I want to act like I'm a good person? And that, when I answered that question myself, that's what made me bring the dogs home. Because I wouldn't want any person or any animal to sleep outside in 20 degrees. So,
and of course you would think if somebody else found your dog,
exactly,
and they said they were a good person and didn't pick him up and take him home, you would say that you're not really a good person then.
Yeah.
So I would agree. I would say that there's people that say they are religious and do good things and then they turn around and not be good.
Yeah.
Just like if you want to use a political example, Roy Moore. Oh, I'm religious, but then you go and sexually assault people and you go and do bad things. That just doesn't fit the bill. So that would segue to what about it's bad? What do you think religion hurts as a society? And I would say before you go, the obvious answer would be we kill each other over it so much.
Yeah, so much.
Numbers and numbers and numbers of wars have been fought over religion, and we just kill each other because your God is different from mine, and mine told me to kill you. And
I think it's the closed-mindedness that I'd say. The like you're saying, the mine is better than yours. Yours doesn't teach the right this, yours doesn't teach the right that. That hurt. If it was just live, love, and take care of the people around you, everybody can go by that. But it wants to specify, it wants to make different rules for certain people or this or that. Religion started off and became a big game of telephone. Everybody changing it up as it went and adding their own this or that to it.
And I would say, in terms of the origin of religion, a lot of it is, like you said, telephone, where there's one version of the Bible that was written, and it was Israeli, I believe, and it was translated, and they're like, oh, you know what? We're going to change this a little bit.
Yeah.
And then over time, it's just completely different. So the Bible you read may not even be the original text. He may have taken 20 days to create it.
Yeah.
And not 7. You don't know. We don't know. They might have changed the days because, a week is 7 days. Let's just make it 7. So, and there's no way you can prove me right or wrong. That's just an interpretation. But it is true that there's so many versions of the Bible, so how is any one of them more correct over the other? And that goes to, I will say, for Christians, most of them are just as atheist as I am.
Yeah.
Because let's just throw in a random number. There's 2,700 gods. I disbelieve 2,700 of them. They disbelieve 2,699. So I would ask you, why is yours the correct one of the 2,700 gods? Why is yours the one that you think is true, think is correct? I would just say, you know what, if there's that many, I bet you they're not true. Yeah. None of them.
I look at that now and I'm just like, I don't understand why people put one over the other. If they're preaching the same thing, why is Buddha different than Allah, then different than Jesus, and different from Christ?
If I had to pick one, I would pick Buddha. He seems cool.
Buddha seems nice. Confucius, Buddha. That happened the other day. A guy was telling me, or, he walked into our store, he was saying, oh, it's not about what do you say? It's not about religion. It's about a relationship with God. And he's like, Buddha and Confucius or this or that are not going to help you. And I'm like, I thought you just told me it wasn't about religion, man.
Right.
Like, why bash everybody else's? That's happened numerous times.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. So there's some things that we should talk about politically, or something that can be solved politically that I think needs to be talked about politically about religion. We are a secular nation. We do not have religion play a role in our government, or shouldn't. None of our laws are based on a religious reason or anything like that. But there are some religious things that need to be addressed, I feel like, with political issues. The first one I would say is, say you have a park, and we talked about the Confederate statues last week, so we'll put the religious one in there. Well, why is there a cross in front of a courthouse or in a public park? Yeah. Should there be a cross on a public property?
If we're going by secular, then no. There shouldn't be any type of religious figures in any, publicly funded property, much like the Confederate statues, like you were saying.
So why would most people not care that there's a cross?
I would say because a huge portion of people agree with it. It's the exact opposite of the Confederate flag. A lot of people disagreed with it. You get backlash. Unfortunately, this is seen as okay, which, in my opinion, as somebody who doesn't believe in religion, it doesn't bother me.
No, me either.
Because it's just something I don't believe in.
I argue it for a sense of accuracy and consistency.
Very
if
true.
We're gonna come on last week and say, look, take these statues down, they're offensive. Look, take the crosses down too. They don't need to be there. This is public property. This is something that should not be publicized by a government-funded place or a publicly funded place. Honestly, if I'm paying tax money to keep that park open, I don't care if there's a cross there. But I would argue also that if I chose what was in that park, I would not pick a cross.
Yeah.
I'd say I don't really want it there because what if a Muslim's walking in that park?
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I'm naive in Islam, but I don't think they worship a cross. I'm not exactly sure. But we'll just say X religion that doesn't worship a cross. Why is there a cross there for him? Why does he have to see a cross? I mean, that's not his religion. We're freedom of religion, so...
One thing in politics, too, is that affects the entire nation is the non-taxation of churches. I think that helps so much, and it's so much money that could be collected. And how much money do you actually know that's being funneled through churches?
Definitely.
Tax,
But I mean, so why do they not have taxes? That would be the next question. Why? What is their justification? They're not charitable, technically. So I would argue, I don't know the answer. I would say, why do they deserve to not? Because if they deserve to not get taxed, then okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But if we're separating church and state, like the Constitution in the country is founded upon, why are they free of this tax?
A little fun fact: back in the Roman days, when society was just beginning, they used religion to help aid in the democratic vote. Or not, I'm sorry, yeah. The vote of the democracy. I'll edit that out. They used it to influence, certain issues. Nowadays it'd be like abortion, or like Justin was saying, LGBT movement, anything like that. It would help because you train these people, and I use the word train because it's what they were doing, what they admitted to doing. They train these people to look at things, to perceive things a certain way, and you guaranteed you had a vote. Now, the conspiracy theorist in me says, if we keep teaching these people and we don't tax them, they're always going to be our friend. Why don't we keep these people thinking a certain way? I doubt it's like that. I'm 100% sure it's not like that, but part of me wants to say that.
Well, I would say, from the church's point of view, they're making so much money on these tithes, and I have a whole separate issue we can go on about tithing. But they make so much money on these tithing, they don't have to pay taxes on it, they don't have to pay any taxes. maybe property tax. I'm not sure, but
Maybe.
regardless, they're making so much money on these people that are tithing. So of course they're gonna be very strict about what you can and can't do, and they're gonna be a little bit more hostile towards people that don't go to church. Like if I'll say, if you meet somebody that is a head of a church or related to the inner workings of a church and you don't go to church, they're going to try to get you to go to their church. Why can't you say, maybe you should find God and go to a church that you believe in? No, they're going to say, why don't you come to my church and I'll teach you about God? No, that doesn't seem like you're in it for the right reason. You're not. And we'll touch on televangelists here in a second. That they don't say, hey, find God and be a better person because of it, whether you go to church or not. They say, come to my church and I'll teach you God. And then now, like, let's say if you go to that church and they teach you God, now you're stuck in that church because they're the one that taught you. And any other church you go to is a little different, and you're like, no, that's not how I was taught. I'm going to go to the other one. And now they've got you. They've got you locked in for your 10% of your paycheck every week or every other week or however often you get paid.
Oh yeah, you said we're talking about televangelists.
Televangelists, they are the masters of executing this trap, get you in, get you your beliefs, and then get your money. So I'll just use an example. I don't know the name, but I saw it on John Oliver, and he did this, and he created a church specifically for this, but he followed one of them, and they said, send me $1. So you send them $1, and then they send you like this pack of paper, and you're supposed to write on the paper your goals in life or whatever, send it back with another $1. Then they'll send you some other packet, and you do this and that, and then you send it back with another $1. And then after about $20, now they say, all right, now pay your acceptance fee for $20. You send them $20. Now you're accepted. You get your little card that says you're accepted, and you never hear from them again.
Wow.
So $40, boom, there you go.
Imagine.
40, $30, whatever. However much they're getting from you. Everybody's different, but so they do this. They reel you in. They're like, oh, here's something. Now just $1. Here's something. Now here's just another $1. Get you working, and then they say, okay, acceptance fee. You're like, well, you know what? I'm already in it this deep. I send it in, and boom, you got scammed.
One of my mom's favorite televangelists, her name was Joyce Meyer. She just came out in it wasn't like a scandal, but it was kind of labeled as a scandal because this year she asked people to donate. I want to get this correct. She asked people to donate their entire first month's salary to her ministry because she said God would want you to do this.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, you can believe in God. I'm not going to question you on why or whatever. Maybe I will, because I don't see where the logic is in it. But fair enough. You can believe in what you can. That's what the country says. I'm not going to infringe upon that. You can believe whatever you want. But if somebody says God would want you to do this, that's kind of scummy. Like, you're picking at people. Like we said in the beginning, this is a fear of repercussion of being bad, or this is a fear of going to hell and forever suffering. And you're saying, you know what? If you don't do this, you're going to go to hell. And for some people that know their God very well and know that He wouldn't put them in hell for this or that, but there's some people that are so scared that they will do whatever because a pastor told me that if I don't do this, I'll go to hell, so I have to do it. And that is scary that they have them that locked in. They have them so strongly to where they can get hundreds and thousands of dollars from people because they're scared of what happens when they die.
One of the other issues that we can talk about is here recently in San Antonio there was a trial about sex trafficking, and a Hispanic woman, I don't remember her name, but the judge, he, I guess, had a dream, had an epiphany, whatever you want to call it. He walked into the jurors' room while they were deliberating the verdict, and he walked into the room and says, I talked to God, and God told me this woman was innocent. And immediately the judge gets thrown off the case because that is just unheard of. It's crazy. And they declare mistrial. They go back, whatever. She gets found guilty. But that's a judge. That's a person that is in charge of everybody's, end of days, because, some people get sentenced to life in prison, some just a little bit. But they're not supposed to have any type of bias. And how does religion affect it if you're running with that type of bias?
It's the ultimate bias. Because you feel like if you go against it, you're going to suffer forever. Mm-hmm. And that's just... And another thing I'll say, kind of playing off of that as an atheist, when somebody tells me that I'm going to hell because I don't believe in God, I'm kind of offended. Like, you know what? I don't believe in something, so from now on, you're going to see me as somebody that will burn for eternity for not believing in it. Mm-hmm. Like, that, to me, that's kind of offensive. Like, maybe offensive is the bad word for it, but you just presuppose that I'm a bad person, and you also presuppose that I'm going to burn for eternity for not believing in the same thing as you.
Yeah.
Not buying it. And then also in high school, we had a kid that said, if you do not get baptized, you will go to hell. Yeah. Period. End of discussion. People. I was like, okay, so you're saying I'm going to go to hell? He's like, yes, you didn't get baptized, you will go to hell. I was like, F you, buddy. Like, you don't get to decide that. That gets on my nerves. So, that's another thing that I was thinking about as you said that. But, there's a lot to it. Is there anything you want to touch on about religion that either bothers you or soothes you or anything?
I was listening to a comedian, and I just want to share this joke because it was so funny. Mm-hmm. He was a 14-year-old comedian, I believe, and he made this really funny joke, and he said that no matter what he did in life, he was always surrounded by sex offenders, because sex offenders are either PE teachers or they're priests. And then he goes, just kidding. All the PE teachers have been put in prison, and the priests, they just get relocated. Yeah. Because it happens so often. True. It's so crazy.
I honestly don't know where the Catholic priests that do this can get away with it. Mm-hmm. I don't understand how this is such a double standard. Like, it's crazy that... I'm not saying they all do it. They obviously don't. But there is a big significant amount of them doing it, enough to where it's a stereotype at this point.
Yeah.
And I wonder how they either get away with it, or how they don't, they don't even get thrown out of their church.
Yeah.
Like, they're just like, you know what, we're going to look past this. And it's just, I saw the other day, if we want to go back to politics, Trump was, with the Stormy Daniels thing with Trump, mm-hmm. A lot of the evangelicals were like, we're giving him a pass. I was like, okay, wait, you get passes? Because as far as I've ever been concerned, you do one thing wrong, you're going to hell.
Yeah.
That's how I've been taught or told. So how does he get a pass? Because he suits their agenda that they like.
Definitely.
And another thing I wanted to bring up on that topic, kind of, if you want to look at the worst, I'll just ask you this question. It may be a little leading, but if you look at the worst kinds of people in America, the worst in terms of acceptance, in terms of love, in terms of just their overall good peopleness, if that's a word, of what part of America is the worst at that, would you say?
Oh, Christians by far. Anyone that was religious.
If you just look at, like, the most racist part of America is the Bible Belt. Mm-hmm. The most criminal part of America, other than the huge cities, mm-hmm. like Chicago, blah, 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 is in the Bible Belt. The people with the least amount of gay marriage acceptance is in the Bible Belt. The place with the least amount of abortion acceptance is in the Bible Belt. Most woman suppressiveness is in the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
If you just go to the Bible Belt, that is where all of the people that are less accepting of everybody else mm-hmm. is. And that doesn't make any sense. They're supposed to be the most accepting, the most loving, but they're not.
Because, I don't know. And I don't know why that is. They may be stuck in the old ways, with the white superiority. And that's always something I question, too, is anyone that believes in God or religion, why do you think he's white? Like, why?
Jesus was not white.
How is he, why is Jesus white? Why, to anybody's imagination? He was born in the Middle East. I'm telling you, his skin is darker than mine. Like, this guy was in the freaking desert. And you're going to tell me he's white and pale? That never made sense to me, ever.
No, it doesn't. Again, that just goes back to the suits there, which is kind of ironic because they're usually you see the racist people that are religious, you know, Jesus was the one you're racist against.
Yeah.
Like, he's a Middle Eastern.
Yeah.
Like, all these people that hate all the Muslims and whatnot, they're Middle Eastern people, generally speaking. So was Jesus.
Yeah, so was Jesus. Exactly.
Now, I know he wasn't Muslim, but he's from where the Muslims are.
He looks very similar.
Now, no, Israel is very, very Christian, obviously. But for the most part, you know, he's a Middle Eastern, so...
Yeah. The only point I'm making is that he wasn't white. He wasn't white-skinned.
Yes, he was not white. Make Jesus brown again.
Yeah, make Jesus brown.
Yes.
Give him a 6-pack.
I bet you had one.
Of beer.
So okay, so let's go to Jesus. I just want to like talk about the stories of the Bible and why I don't believe them when I read them. So first off, in the beginning, God said, "Let there be light." Okay, well, first off, that's not the beginning to me because God's there and He said something. So therefore, there was a before that. But let's just assume, okay? Let's assume God is outside of the universe. Okay, so He said, "Let there be light." And then I think later on, He created the sun. After He said, "Let there be light." Because He created the sun on, like the 4th or 5th day.
Yeah.
Where was the light from then? Because that was the light He created, right? Okay, so first contradiction is in like the first chapter. But I'm not even going to go through all that. I'm just saying. And so then you have Adam and Eve and the talking snake with the apple. So you believe in talking snakes if you're religious.
Yeah.
Do you believe in talking snakes?
Well, apparently from that story, the snake was cursed to slither on its belly and never speak again. Is what that story says.
Okay, so that's their workaround.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, well. So, okay, you got me there, Lewis. All right, let's see if you can get the next ones. So, Noah's Ark. How in the ever-living hell is that possible? So, first off, if you believe in Noah's Ark, I want you to look up Bill Nye versus Ken Ham about Noah's Ark. And Bill Nye, one of the most respectable people on earth in terms of good people, smart, and atheist, will rip apart Noah's Ark scientifically and prove to you that it wasn't real. And then Ken Ham was like, well, apparently they found it in some mountain. But he didn't even talk about the unrealisticness of having a boat that big. First off, being built in that time.
Yeah, how would one guy build... You know, I'm not saying one guy, but...
Well, he had a couple of people help him.
There's no way they would make it... They couldn't even keep the Titanic afloat. You think Noah's Ark...
Well, they have the Creation Museum that is a big ark. And they couldn't even build the full thing. They had to cut it in half because it was too big.
Yeah.
So, in 2016, we can't build a big boat that big. Why can we build it then?
Yeah.
In year 2 or whatever it was. So, okay, the ark was whatever. And there's no scientific evidence of a 47-day flood. There's no scientific evidence at all. And then as far as the 2 of every animal, if you take 2 of every animal that existed back then, let's just assume it was 10 breeds of dogs, 10 breeds of cats, which doesn't account for all the breeds that we have now, which are somewhat played off of the original breeds, but whatever. And then you've got every bird, you got 2 doves, 2 crows, 2, everything. How? It's not possible. So, and if you think it's possible, please explain to me, contact me, or comment on this video how it's possible.
Yeah.
And don't say everything's possible through God, because I'm not buying it. You can't use Him to justify Him. You just can't do that. So, that was another thing that I don't understand. And there's more I could go further into it, but we're not going to do that. I'm just saying, if you read the Bible, there are so many contradictions that I don't see how you could believe it. Honestly, I just don't.
Like you said, it's the evidence that they have now is concrete. We are a derivative. Is a derivative? We are.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So first off, I want to debunk this evolution thing that says why are there still monkeys? We don't come from the monkeys. Us and the monkeys come from the same place.
Mars.
Yes, Mars.
We come from Mars.
Europa. Okay, so you picture a family tree. So I don't come from Aunt Sally. Aunt Sally doesn't come from me. But me and Aunt Sally come from the same grandpa or great-grandpa. So great-grandpa is our common ancestor, and monkeys are our Aunt Sally. If that doesn't make sense, nothing makes sense, all right?
I mean, we look like them.
Yeah. There are people in the world today that look like monkeys.
Yeah, I look like a monkey.
Well, I mean, we all do because we all have the same features. But he's making a monkey face.
Yeah, I look like a monkey whenever I do that.
So it just guys, we came from monkeys, and don't say, well, then why aren't people coming out of the forest saying I'm a human now? Because it doesn't work in that quick. It's millions and millions of years. I think they said 4.5 million years ago. And you can go on to evolutionary theory and look at everything from us to the common ancestor that was, and all of the human-like things in between that slowly, like the most common or the most recent ancestor to humans is the Neanderthal. And if you've seen a picture of a Neanderthal, they look more like a monkey than us, but they're not monkeys. And then you keep going and keep going and keep going. It's like the Hobbit people, where they're literally walking and moving around like monkeys, but they look like humans with a lot of hair, and they're really small. Well, yeah, because that's the in-between. So you've got all these in-betweens. It's just, guys, evolution's real. And that's just how it is. I watched a video 1 hour long of Richard Dawkins, who is a genius in my mind, teach evolution to a bunch of religious kids, and he does it very well. And if you don't, if you are interested, just look it up on YouTube. I'm sure it's easy to find. Richard Dawkins teaches evolution, and I'm sure you can find it pretty quick. It's about 56 minutes, and it's interesting. But I want to touch on, since we're talking about teaching, schools. What should they teach? What should they be responsible for teaching kids? Because it wasn't a mandatory Bible study, but we had a 0 period Bible study that we were allowed to go to. That's fine. It's optional.
Yeah.
But as far as evolution, they didn't really cover all the stuff that I've learned since on my own, because I'm interested in it. They never really taught any of it. They didn't teach how evolution happened. They just said, here's evolution.
Yeah. And
then here's creationism. So what do you think they should teach?
I think they should give kids the ability to teach either, or to learn either. It doesn't even work like that, because I'm sure you have to have parents' permission. It would get a little bit deeper. But offer both courses. If a child or a parent wants their kid to learn one thing and the other create another, the world thrives off of people having differences.
So we've found a disagreement.
Why? What do you think?
Evolution, 100%. You know why? Because if you teach your kids that you can learn something other than what's factually proven by science, you discredit science.
I don't know if you discredit it, because you can say, let me think. Like superstitions. That's how I take it. If I'm about to play in a soccer game and I say, I'm going to put on my lucky headband because every time I wear this headband, it makes me feel better.
That's why I wear a Stars hoodie every Stars game.
Yes, it makes you feel better. It makes you feel like you're going to perform better. If that's what religion is to some people, that's completely fine with me.
Yeah.
Whatever's going to
totally.
bring...
But what I'm saying is the creation side of it. This is how humans came to be. We shouldn't be teaching a fairy tale over what is factually proven by science. Because if you say, look, you can decide. You can take the creation class or you can take the evolution class. Then you're saying, look, science isn't the answer to everything, but it is. That's how we find out everything. How are we recording on this microphone? From science. It wasn't from God. How are we recording on this laptop? From science. How does my phone come on when I touch it? That's a science thing.
Yeah.
That's not a God thing. So now you can say, well, there's science and then there's this, that you can choose either. But we're not supposed to choose either. We're supposed to say, this is the truth. This is what we've found out in the world. And this is what we're going with because this is the fact. So that's why I say you teach evolution, because it's the fact.
Yeah.
And if parents get mad, parents get mad.
Yeah.
GTFO.
I think, definitely they should learn about it more than what we did when we were in school, because I don't ever remember hearing about it.
Well, it goes back to separation of church and state. Schools are government funded. Public schools are funded publicly and by the government. So they should not have a say in religion. They should not have anything to do with religion. If they want to put religious books in their library, I'm okay with that to an extent, as long as every religion book is available.
Yeah.
Not just the Bible. If I probably could not go to City View, where I went to school, and get a Quran. It's not there.
No.
But I know the Bible's there. I checked it out once.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with a library, the school library, having the religious texts as long as they're all available. And you can say, well, there's too many. I know, but just as an example. And so our schools are not supposed to teach religion in terms of what the Constitution says when it comes to separating church and state. They shouldn't have that right because they are funded by the government. They're not supposed to have a say in that. If you want to learn religion as a kid, go to church. That's your right. But when you go to school, you're learning the facts.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, then go to a private school.
Yeah.
Pay for a Catholic school.
Yeah, that's true. Go to
That's
school.
I mean, you could disagree with me all day long. Teach kids God because of morality. Trust me, teaching a kid God is not going to make him any more moral than he already is, and it's not going to make him less moral by not teaching him.
It goes
because
back
morality is
to,
built into everybody.
Yeah, it goes back to my Republican thinking of use a lot of fear base to get people to think a certain way, and I don't think that's always productive.
I don't think it's productive at all.
Scaring somebody to think a certain way or to act a certain way or feel a certain way doesn't give you power over them. It just shows what a bad person you are.
So I don't think we've decided what we're doing next week, but I'm going to pitch a thing about this, and if we decide to do it next week, we will. But if you just look at abortion, I've had people ask me, what are your views on it? What do you think about abortion? And I always say I don't really have an opinion because, first off, I'm never in that situation. I'm a guy. I don't have to make that decision. I may take part in that decision if something happened in that sense, but I'm not the woman. I don't have that choice. But I would say, as far as where does life start, or what at what point, if you allow abortion, do you cut it off? And I would always say, what does science say? What does the scientist say life starts?
So what does the scientist say?
I don't think we have one yet because we don't know. We don't know what consciousness even is yet.
Yeah, if you think of that, you weren't conscious for 9 months. So somebody could say, at any point in 9 months, you could.
Your brain wasn't developed enough to form memories, but that doesn't mean we weren't conscious. That doesn't mean because kids react in the womb to music and stuff, and they kick and they respond. So they are conscious enough to do things. So at what point does that start? A beating heart? We don't know where consciousness comes from, so we can't decide when consciousness starts. So the easiest explanation for me would be when you're conceived, but at the same time, I don't feel like that's fair to the women. So I have to, there's no answer to that, and we can cover abortion later, but I'm just using that as an example, like where do you make that decision? And I would say, what does the science say? And if the science says, hey, it starts at conception, okay, well, there you go. There's a cutoff.
I can get down with that.
So, and we don't know yet. So what do we do in the meantime? I guess we're going to keep arguing about it. We're going to anyway, so.
Yeah.
But, so that's where I would say you invoke the science thing over religion, because there's proof of one thing and faith of another, and you have to go with the proof every time because that's what we know.
Always have to go with the proof.
So,
well, with this, let's hop into the last 10 minutes of our podcast here, and let's talk about the Trump news because it's getting kind of.
Hopefully, every week we'll
thick.
have. I'm pretty sure from now on we'll have some stuff to talk about every week.
It's just getting started, man.
But if not, we won't do it. But hopefully every week we can talk about a couple things. I do have a couple things that I wanted to talk about. Well, overall, what's going on in case you're living under a rock or in another country, and congratulations for that. What's going on is really, other than the policy aspect, and we touched on last week, the town hall meeting of Medicare for All, which was great. I didn't get to watch it. I was at work, and then there was a Stars game that I put priority over. I probably shouldn't have done, but I did. And I missed it. I watched a little bit of it. It seemed fair. I'll let Lewis fill you in on all that because he watched it.
Yeah, for the most part, I mean, it was on Tuesday, so forgive me if my memory isn't, all quite there. But for the most part, it was, Medicare for All. Bernie Sanders had a panel of different people working in the medical fields. He had somebody that ran a nonprofit charity that helped people receive medical access, dental, healthcare, or optometrists, eyesight. They gave them these different options to finally see doctors. And the sad thing is, he had these pictures, and you would see these pictures, look at these pictures, and it looks like it was from a third world country. And even so, Bernie Sanders, made the comment himself it was thousands of people camping out in their trucks, their cars, their vans, their tents just to get free glasses or free dentistry. Apparently dentist is the top thing that adults never go to in America. I guess dental insurance just isn't.
It's not a priority.
Definitely, especially when you're worried about your health. But for the most part, he pitched ideas with those people about how we pay for it. I don't know any of the specific numbers right now. I can definitely get to that. But
we'll do healthcare.
Yes, we would have to do an entire episode for healthcare.
If you're interested to look into that further, I strongly suggest you go on YouTube. I know it's on the Young Turks channel.
Yes. Yeah, the Young Turks, Now This, and I believe a network called Attention. I think it's like ATTN or something like that.
Yeah, so if you're interested in watching that, I'm sure you can just Google Bernie, Medicare for All Town Hall 2018, and it'll come up.
Yeah.
It's about 2 hours.
Yeah, about 2 hours long. Yes.
Watch it, learn whether you're for or against it. It's good to be knowledgeable. It's good to know something.
And
knowledge
it's
is power.
not completely for it. There are people at that town hall, rightfully so, that are against it, and they express their feelings to him.
That's what a town hall's for,
exactly.
guys.
Yeah, it's not a propaganda thing. It's not, at least on the left wing, it's not supposed to be a propaganda issue.
So, I just want to touch on that because I remember you mentioned it last week, and
yes.
we were going to say something about it.
I completely forgot about it.
Okay, so Trump. Pretty much what's been going on is the Russia scandal's been taken off a little bit. It hasn't already. So I want to touch on the FBI because there is a lot of questions. First off, there's a conspiracy theory about the deep state being in control of the FBI. If you don't know what deep state is, it's pretty much the opposite of the alt-right. It's the left side that is very radical, whatever. So they want to... They're trying to blackball Trump into getting him impeached.
Yeah.
And it's just not true because, first off, if the FBI was controlled by the deep state, they wouldn't have released Peter Strzok, or however you say it, right when they found out about his bias.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll also add, you cannot have a human being that is unbiased. It's impossible.
Yeah.
The best you can do is teach them to look past them.
Mm-hmm.
And some people can't. And at that point, you say, look, you can't be on this team because you're biased, and you move on.
Mm-hmm.
Mueller is a Republican, people. So just letting you know. But pretty much what came out, he fired Comey. Mueller's pretty much mainly apparently, reporting the reports. None of this is set in stone because Mueller hasn't said a word. I don't even know what he sounds like.
I don't even know what this guy, I've never heard him talk.
And I didn't hear Comey talk until right before the election with Hillary. But regardless, so... Pretty much, there's a lot of things about him firing Comey. Mueller's looking at obstruction of justice. And back in, I think they said it was June of 2017, Trump was trying to fire Mueller. There's a lot of fake news crying about it. He said it wasn't true. They asked Trump about it, and he said fake news. So that's his defense. We did a whole episode on fake news if you want to check that out as well. But so pretty much what's going on, this is from foreignpolicy.com. I don't know how reputable they are. I found them on Reddit. Please look at these sources before you make a judgment. I'm not trying to tell you this is true or false. I'm pretty sure it's true because I've seen it in other places, but I couldn't quote them where. So I'll just say that this, as of right now, I assume is true. But the story pretty much says that Trump tried to launch a campaign to discredit the witnesses saying he was trying to fire Mueller.
Mm-hmm.
So there's witnesses that the FBI have apparently talked to already saying that Trump was trying to fire Mueller. His staff told him no and threatened to quit, so Trump backed off and did not fire him. And so now he's trying to pretty much just say, hey, look, we need to discredit these people to try to make their testimonies less reputable, which is illegal, especially from a president. And he's gotten away from crimes already. He already threatened the First Amendment with the anthem thing. So he doesn't care about the law.
It's like the law doesn't apply to him. I don't
He wants to arrest CNN people, or he wants to do something as an executive branch to people from CNN, which is illegal. That's, fascism as much as it gets. So regardless, there's a story about it. Pretty much he He's trying to discredit these people. And I feel like that's very important in these news because that's illegal.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't do this if you're innocent. If Trump is innocent, and if he is, I'll admit it. If Mueller says, look, nothing, he didn't, he's totally clean.
There's nothing we can
he's totally
say.
clean.
Yeah,
I'll trust
clean.
Mueller. I'm not gonna cry outright conspiracy if Mueller acquits him or whatever it's called. That whatever, fair enough.
You don't talk this much. You don't throw so many people under the bus. You don't take every route and avoid even putting out your tax returns if you have nothing to hide.
Right.
If you have nothing to hide, you should be a transparent.
Guys, he's the president. He's not still under audit.
Yeah, exactly. He's not under audit at all.
I don't think he ever was, but let's give him credit, benefit of the doubt, which he doesn't deserve. He maybe was under audit. Mm-hmm. He's not now. Audits don't take that long. He's the president.
I wonder if they looked into his tax returns first.
Well, apparently Mueller has them.
He has them?
The 2017 tax returns.
Damn.
Well, 2016, which he filed in 17.
Mm-hmm.
He also has files to the Deutsche Bank that he used to get loans from. So, yeah. And then, so you also look, there's a lot going on about the election. Was it fair? Was it rigged? Was it hacked? There's a report, and I thought when I saw this, I was like, boom, this is it. It's over. It's not over because it's never over. I thought, well, hey, look, we got proof. It's done. But there's more to it than that. But this is from motherjones.com again. Look them up. See if you trust them. I do. There is a Dutch newspaper. I'm not going to try to say it because I'm not even going to try to say it. But
I'll try to say it. What is it?
It's right here. It's the People's Paper in Dutch.
De Volkskrant.
Yeah, okay. So they put out an article, or they put out a story. They have absolute, and by absolute I mean as absolute 100% proof Russia hacked the DNC and the election. This is huge. I don't, to me, I don't understand how this isn't huge news everywhere.
Yeah.
Maybe because it's fake. I don't know. But so pretty much the Dutch people were hacking the Russians that were hacking Americans. And they have video of the Russian people that work for the Russian government coming into this place. And it's Cozy Bear is the name of the group, the spy group or the hacking group in Russia. Of course, it's that in Russian. They have video proof of the Russian intelligence committee coming in to Cozy Bear and directing a hack. And so that means our election is compromised. To me, I feel like even if Hillary won, I would be saying the same thing. Mm-hmm. Our election has been tampered with and it's not valid.
Yeah,
that's what I feel. And I'll say on that note, I showed Lewis one time. I got an email from Twitter that I apparently responded or interacted with a Russian bot, which I was pretty much anticipating because I called a lot of them out. So I'm not really surprised. But so Twitter's doing something, and so you got to realize that by hacking the election, this says that they hacked the DNC and the RNC was hacked too. I don't know if this covers it, but by hacking the election, I don't mean they hacked the voters' booth to change the votes. By hacking the election, I mean they went to Facebook and changed people's opinions using ads on Facebook. And propaganda. And they changed people's minds on Twitter by having bots respond to the president in support of him, the now president, which was then candidate. But on both sides, Hillary too had some bots. Not as strongly because Russia wanted Trump elected because he's less strict on the sanctions than Hillary was going to impose them stricter. So they wanted Trump because our sanctions are lifted.
Yeah.
They don't care about Trump as a person. They don't care what he does. They just don't want sanctions. That's how I look at it. I'm sure that there is evidence that there are more to it than that and that Trump owes them money, blah, blah, blah.
I think what goes to it is that the sanctions hurt the money that was paid to the oligarchs. I use paid loosely, but what it came down to is that the oligarchs were losing billions and billions of dollars. And with Trump, him being somewhat buddy with Putin, the sanctions being lifted, that money being there, that helping their economy. So, I mean, it helps Russia tons. Because the reason we put those sanctions on them were for their lack of cooperation with nuclear weapons.
But apparently, Mueller's in this, and he's looking at this. And I want to stress to you, as far as the FBI is concerned, I have absolute 100% trust in the FBI. Never have we had such an attack on the FBI that we do now.
They're asking for a purge.
And part of it, okay, so first off, as far as the purge is concerned, that's illegal, obviously. But that is as fascist as it gets. They're investigating us. Arrest them. That's my political opponent. Arrest them. Yeah. That's fascism.
Yes,
Putin
definitely
does that all the time. So no purge. No. Even if they were biased towards Trump, I wouldn't be saying purge. I would say let the investigation play. Then if you need to investigate the investigation like they're doing with Hillary, do it. Yeah. Totally fair. If they were unfair to Hillary or unfair in favor of Hillary, I want to know. And if they were, I want repercussions. And if they're unfair against Trump, same thing. I want to be fair to the FBI, but I do have faith that they are doing it the right way. I've never once been like, you know what, I think the FBI is tainted or biased. I don't feel that way. So.
Yeah, no, I never thought. Well, Justin, I have one more question from you, and it may surprise you, but I actually have a we can call it fan mail. We have a question that one of our listeners from the Dallas-Fort Worth area were wanting us to discuss a little bit.
Cool. I love fan mail.
Earlier he asked me, number one, he said, good job on the podcast, guys, that two of my old buddies have been listening to it.
Thank you for your input.
Thank you guys for listening. But his question was, is there such thing as a liberal Republican or a conservative Democrat?
Yes.
What is your response?
It's not strictly set because I don't feel like they're coincidental in the sense of I am a conservative Democrat. Like, you can't say that and say, okay, well, we know what you are. But there are Democrats with conservative views. So I'm a progressive, aka a left. I'm on the left, but I believe in guns. Yeah. So that would be a conservative side of my Democrat side, or a conservative side of my left-leaning views. I believe in the death penalty. That's another thing that's conservative about me. I believe in this and that, but overall, I'm liberal. I have pro-gay marriage, pro-weed, pro-choice for the most part. So, there's things in there. And then it goes the other way. There's Republicans that are pro-gay marriage. There's Republicans that are pro-weed. So there are liberal aspects to a conservative. That's, I think, what the gist of it is. If you want a conservative liberal, look at Dianne Feinstein. Yes. Because she is conservative.
She's a conservative liberal.
But she is a Democrat. And then I don't know of any off the top of my head, but I would say Rand Paul, the older one, not Ron Paul. Not Rand. Yeah. Ron Paul was a very liberal conservative because he wanted out of the war. Yes. He wanted the separation of church and state was big on him. He was had liberal tendencies, but he was a Republican. So that's what how I would answer. I would say that's a fair way to say that.
His point being that he was saying that seeing signs for conservative Republican, he said, don't people automatically assume that a conservative is Republican?
I have seen a sign on my way to work. Every day I see the same one. It says conservative Republican. Yeah. And I agree. It is an assumed title. But there are differences. I mean, I wouldn't vote for a conservative liberal for the most part, nor would I vote for a liberal conservative.
Well, see, I took it a little bit different. I told him that most people, when they think of conservative Republican, they think of one type of person. And the way I saw it is, if you are a liberal conservative, from how America has been shifting, more people are now independents. If you're not conservative Republican, then you're independent. If you're not a liberal Democrat, or what would be the word?
That's right.
Liberal Democrat. Liberal Democrat, then you're an independent. Because you see independents make up like 40% of America. You know, people are undecided. They don't know. Because
those independents are actually progressive, but...
Exactly. Because
for the most part.
That's what I told them. I said, I identify with the Progressive Party that is very liberal, but I'm for anything that gets America going in the right direction.
So, yeah, I would say that. I wouldn't really have any examples of either side. Like I said, Dianne Feinstein's the only thing I can think of. She's very conservative. But she legalized weed.
I think of corporate Democrats when I think of
conservative
Democrats.
Yeah, I would say so. Hillary wasn't a conservative by any stretch, but she was definitely a corporate run, and Republicans are corporate run, and they run for the donors that they get. Hillary just has different donors. If Hillary's donors shifted to Republican donors, she'd probably be a Republican.
Mm-hmm. I feel like Hillary played the identity card a little bit too hard. That she wasn't as liberal as she seemed. I feel like she played it more for a vote.
I think identity politics is way too strong anyways nowadays.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thanks for your question. That was a good question.
That was
a good question.
It was a good question.
I've thought of it, but I've never really sat and tried to explain it. So
yeah, I always see Pat Fallon, conservative Republican. Screw that guy.
Yeah, I don't know about Pat Fallon. I don't know what his name is. I'll try to get his name. And
Craig Estes is the other one. Conservative.
Yeah. I want to also mention, I commented on the last video, our Jags prediction. I'm not throwing myself under the bus. You were with me.
Yeah, I said it too.
Rest in peace, Jags.
I'm predicting a Patriots blowout.
Oh, definitely.
It is going to be so
38-0, 38-3. It's going to be bad. It's going to be another Peyton Manning snap over the head.
Yeah, it's going to be that bad.
Yeah, I think so. But we'll have another episode.
38-0. I said
no. Yeah. I'll stick with it.
I'll put 24-17, but it's not close at all.
That is close, though.
But the score is closer than what the game is.
Okay. Gotcha.
Like, Tom Brady's out in the third quarter. You know, I don't even know who their second string is now. Brian Hoyer?
I think so.
I think that's who they got.
I don't know. But anyways, thanks for your question.
Yeah, it's a really good question.
I'd love to hear more questions. We have a comment section, so use it. And we'll, if you comment on this video, we will reply to it next week. Definitely. No matter how many. If we have to spend 6 hours, we'll do it because that would be awesome. But for the most part, yeah.
Thank you guys for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode on religion. We'll be back next week with another episode. Hopefully, by the time this video goes up, we can decide what we want to talk about and get you another topic coming up next week. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.